Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
Coming to you live from the basement of an abandoned training facility where we talk about fighting, training, and events. It's the Fight Mixer Show, where you can hear about all the local and world combat sports happenings. Get ready. It's time to gear up and square up because we're going live on the Fight Mixer Show.
What's going on, all my bros, hoes in different area codes? What's going on? Mr. Gabe.
What's going on?
Doing pretty good. Welcome to the Fight Mixer, everybody. How you doing, Gabe?
Not bad. Not bad.
Very good.
How about you? Everything's good on your end?
A little bit too white, though. I mean, Coca-Cola might have a problem with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe like less of the background.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Are you talking about my dance ability, or are you talking about my
That joke was a retake, by the way. So we said it off there. I'm like, wow, that was a really good joke. So I decided to like replay it.
It works. Like you gotta play it again. If it works, it works.
Yes, sir. Holy shit. So while this was all starting up, my friend sent me a link. He's like, bro, guess what? Do you know for the Jake Paul Ben Askren fight, which is a complete abortion, do you know what's the co-main event? No. It is going to be Antonio Tarver, who's a former world champion, the guy who beat Roy Jones Jr. Yeah, Antonio Tarver fighting fucking Frank Mir.
What?
Wrap your brain around that one, Gabe.
Wait, what?
Yeah, just please wrap your brain around that one. Yeah.
First off, that has zero interest to me whatsoever, and it's like that is such a why of what?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, look. I guess if you're gonna have a shit fest, might as well make it like two deuces instead of one.
Wait, you don't like Frank Mir?
No, Frank's great.
Okay.
Him versus Antonio Tarver, just like it's a why. It's a dumper. I mean, Frank's striking is okay. He's not a world-class boxer. And then Tarver, has he been retired? I haven't heard. That's the name I haven't heard. I mean, is he even still an active fighter, or I don't?
No, I don't think he hasn't been active for a while. I mean, Antonio Tarver, he fought the trilogy with Roy Jones Jr. and then he kind of faded into obscurity, and he had a very successful movie career. He was in Rocky Balboa, and he kind of like drifted off into the sunset quietly. He quietly retired, and only in 2021 can fucking two world champions. Sorry, a little bit under the weather, but two world champions from boxing and MMA co-main event the biggest fucking shit show and the biggest fucking abortion, Jake Paul and Ben Askren. Just saying, it makes zero sense whatsoever. Zero sense.
I thought you were saying that the Jake Paul Ben fight was fake.
No, wait.
Fake? That's what I thought you were saying at the beginning of this. I didn't realize what you were saying.
It's a shitty idea, and it proves that boxing's fucking dead. But it's definitely not going to.
I mean, it's fake in the respect that neither of them are pro boxers.
It's true.
That, I mean, there are two non-pro boxers fighting a professional boxing match that people are going to pay for, which people, if you're listening to this, if you're listening to the Fight Mixer, do the world a favor and do not buy the pay-per-view.
Oh, do not.
Turn it off. Ignore it. The sooner Jake Paul and his disappear, the better off society is. Do society a favor. Stop making stupid people famous.
And all you gotta do with these kids, with these fucking Gen Z people, all you gotta do is just not give them attention and watch their confidence, watch their money, everything fucking crumble like a stack of cards.
That's what it would take. But alas, that's not going to happen. I mean, I really hate saying it, but Kim Kardashian is the queen of mediocrity turned into fame.
Well, it all started with Paris Hilton, I think, right?
No.
We all know who helped Paris Hilton.
But Paris being a Hilton, like, you know, I mean, she was born into to quote unquote fame because the Hilton fortune and what they represent, that holds some weight. Kim Kardashian gave a BJ.
So I mean, Rob Kardashian got OJ off, and then Kim Kardashian got Ray J off, and then
and here we are now. Jake Paul is boxing. Oh God. Well, hey, listen. I hope Frank is getting a payday. I hope Tarver's getting a payday. I hope Ben Askren is getting a payday. I hope Jake Paul gets hit by a car.
Fuck Jake Paul, piece of shit.
Seriously.
I'm gonna post illegal streams. I think Fight Mixer should do this also. Just post links of all legal streams. Let's just support the cause. Free fight. Go on Fight Mixer. We're gonna have illegal streams all over the place. Don't order the fight. Don't give a dollar.
It could get our page banned. So, nah.
Maybe not. But if you want to DM David, he will send you all the links, every link, nonstop. I'm for it. I'm for it. But why watch it at all? Honestly, like if I was in the room and Jake Paul and Ben Askren like we're gonna spar, I've been like I'm gonna go take a nap. I'll be back to the room later. Same thing like Anthony Tarver and Frank Mir. I mean, if it was a sparring session, I might watch it. But I certainly wouldn't be like, oh my God, they're really gonna fight. I gotta catch that. No,
fuck that. I hope Ben Askren fucking scorches him. And speaking of scorching, did you see Derek Lewis? Derek fucking Lewis icing blades in last weekend for UFC Fight Night.
Yeah. I mean that was a brutal knockout. I'm really this is gonna sound bad, but I don't care. It shows how there's no depth in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, you think so?
Derek Lewis is very easy to beat. He has power. The fact that Ngannou is the number 2 guy shows that there's no depth. Because dude, Ngannou he throws with unbelievable force, but easy to take down, no ground, and you would expect that a wrestler would be able to handle him fairly easily. I just think that there's not a lot of depth to the heavyweight division.
This has been the argument, though, since your career, that the heavyweight division was severely lacking. I mean, Randy Couture even said it best, heavyweight fighters have no fucking heart. Let me go up and just fucking dollywop Tim Sylvia. This has been an argument for years and years and years. The last 20 years, everyone says that the heavyweight division sucks. I mean, you got Rico Rodriguez, who was awesome. He BJJ black belt, NAGA world champion, beat Antonio Nogueira. I mean, Rico Rodriguez. Antonio Nogueira was awesome. Brock Lesnar was a fucking savage. I mean, you had a sprinkle here and there of talent, but heavyweight division was always sort of lacking depth. It's kind of like high school wrestling.
Even remember they were like, oh, this is the Cain Velasquez era, and Cain got dusted in it his first I think his first title defense, and then it was supposed to be the JDS era, and then he gets dusted as well. There hasn't been a heavyweight that has been able to keep the title, retain the title, except for Stipe. I mean, actually, really, Stipe,
Stipe lost to Daniel Cormier, though.
He lost to Cormier, so yeah, but he got it back. But before that, I think he was one of the first heavyweights to actually have a run of consistent defenses. I think Stipe is an exceptional fighter. I really do. He's got good standing. He's got good takedowns. And then he's decent on the ground. I don't think he's really a submission specialist, but you don't need to be if you have the other elements. But I don't think there's a lot of dude. Okay, props to Derek Lewis. That guy has got power for days.
Right.
But I am perplexed that like people can't figure a guy like that out.
It's kind of strange too, because you're so scared of his power. So wrestlers, it takes them out of their element. So they're shooting takedowns from far away. Like Curtis Blades, great fucking wrestler, outstanding wrestler. But in the back of their mind, I think when it comes to power hitters, everyone has that fucking those huge hands in the back of their head. So it's keeping people out of the pocket. It's keeping people uncomfortable to trade, to set up takedowns. I think it completely disrupts somebody's game when you're dealing with someone with that, like an anomaly that, he's one-dimensional. We all know that. Gabe confirmed that. But he has those fucking monster hands, and that can knock you out any time. One punch, death shot. It scares people. It rattles people's confidence. I really abandon game plans when you deal with Derek Lewis.
The other part is the other guys in the division are essentially the same. Ngannou, that cross to knock guy, I don't remember his name, and that French guy that's now the new soon to be heir apparent is what they're calling him. They're all heavy hitters, and when you have a division that's based around these one hitter quitters, there's the depth is still not there. You know what I mean? Now, admittedly, you're going to have hopefully good matchups. Like I think when Ngannou fought the Rosenstock guy, I actually didn't watch that fight, but you're going to have those knockouts, which is what people want. And heavyweights, they're gonna provide that. But again, I just don't see the depth in it.
Right, and we came a long way though, because 20 years before, Bob Sapp was considered one of the best heavyweights in the world. And so I think the heavyweight division is making some progress. And we're going
this nerd with the glasses, he probably knows.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, brother?
How are you guys doing?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks.
Trainer of legends and MMA legend himself. And we were discussing this in the chat room. You were a Shooto champion. Shooto was actually one of the first MMA promotions ever. They were formed in 1986, so way before UFC and Pancrase. But you were not only a Shooto champion and you fought in Japan, but you were the first American Shooto champion, beating Enson Inoue by a year. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was over in Japan in 1993. I fought before the first UFC.
Jesus Christ. Holy shit.
And then I tried to get into the first UFC, but I was training with Hickson, and they said, if you try to get the UFC, you're going to fight my brother. If you fight my brother, you can't train with us anymore. And I said I would like to continue to train. So, and I said, well, who's the shoot fighter you guys have? And they go, his name's Ken Wayne Shamrock. And I was like, Ken Wayne Shamrock. They go, yeah, he fights in Japan. He's a shoot fighter like you. And I said, well, shoot fighting, there's only like a couple leagues. But shoot wrestling or Shooto was called that, and then there was Pancrase, and he was the champion of Pancrase at the time.
Right,
but
and
he took the part. He was big, and the Pancrase fighters always wore the tight spandex shorts, so that was that look, that like the wrestler look,
Right, and you actually you're acquainted with Gabe, correct?
Pardon me?
You're acquainted with Gabriel down here. This guy.
Oh yes, yeah. Gabe came and trained. He came and trained with the guys for a while, with Cub Swanson, and James Wilkes, Danny Suarez, Jay Martinez, Freddie, a ton of guys. He came out and trained with all these guys for a long time, and he had Javi Vasquez and also
Babalu.
Romy Aram and a lot of Babalu, the millennial guys. And you were with Babalu, with Marco Huas too?
No. Babalu was in the room with us. Was pretty often in the room when I come down to Fullerton.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. And then
Babalu there.
Josh as well.
Right, Hector Lombard and
Awesome.
A lot of beats in that room. The first place where I met you, Erik, was you were still at the Ensenado Academy. That was the very first time I met you with. What's that?
Did you train with Eddie Millis?
No, I never trained with Eddie. Matt Akins brought me into the Ensenado Academy many years ago. Yeah,
that's right. Santo.
Yep. Okay. So
yeah. Okay. You came down with Matt. Matt and I were really good friends. That's Henry Akins' younger brother. He was real
older
technical.
brother.
He loved. Is he older?
He's older. He just looks younger.
We can't get this straight. That doesn't matter. He's smaller. Yeah. Henry's the big one, and yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway,
so
how's everyone doing? What's going on here? You guys were talking about.
Yeah, we were talking about UFC from last weekend, and Derek was being a freaking animal and knocking out Curtis Blades. Did you see the fights from last weekend?
Did not see it. I was in Iowa. I went to Iowa for a day, so I missed the fights. But I did see Tony Ferguson in the airport.
You did.
And I haven't seen Tony since the Ultimate Fighter show. I was one of the coaches on Brock's show, and I helped Tony prepare for the win. And he won the whole thing, and then boom, he went straight. He got sponsored by Brock, and he went up to Brock's camp and was out in Minnesota there for quite some time. And then he came back to Orange County, and I just said that it was strange that I live in Orange County and I haven't seen him since the Ultimate Fighter show, which was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah. And you were actually one of the coaches, and you coached. You helped coach with Brock Lesnar, but you actually coached Brock Lesnar too, correct?
Yeah, I was one of Brock's coaches, and then also he brought me on the Ultimate Fighter show. It's funny because you do a lot of work with all the guys, but the cameras are never on you. It's always on the star, which is Brock, obviously. And so, like, you could be doing all this work with these guys, and then all of a sudden you'll go, hey, let's work a treetop. And then Brock will go, I love the treetop. It's my favorite takedown against the wall. And camera's on. But it was good. I was happy to work with all the guys that were great. And it was interesting to see how when Brock really took interest, because some of our guys were losing and they were getting taken down a lot. And I learned one thing from Brock that was unbelievable. And it was like, when you're put up against the wall, he just said, bottom line, here's what you do. You don't want to get taken down. Nobody's going to get taken down from here on out. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to overhook. You're going to loop your leg to the outside. They're in on a single or a double. You loop your leg to the outside. You whizzer. You shove their head. You keep shoving their head, and you fight for the bottom hand. He goes, you don't reach over the head. You reach under the head, and you fight and pick that bottom hand up. And after that, all of our guys were winning, and nobody was taken down after that against the cage.
Awesome.
Pretty cool.
Brock was like that weird anomaly when he first came to mixed martial arts, because he fought K1 Dynamite 2007. He fought it was like a replacement in the main event. Brock Lesnar, he was an NCAA champion, obviously a wrestler his entire career, went to WWE, and then he pretty much went to MMA being completely one-dimensional and relying on his wrestling and him being just an overall badass. Like, you molded and you crafted a lot of talent throughout your career, just like helping out Gabe and coaching Gabe. How did Brock become so successful? And especially because we were just talking about the heavyweight division. What do you think it takes to be a mixed martial artist, and how do you mold fighters like you helped mold Brock Lesnar?
He's an anomaly. First of all, he's like a super athlete. He's huge. He's bigger than everybody, and he can wrestle. He's mean, and he's also a deer hunter and a hunter, and he loves to kill things. So like that. That helps a little bit. Believe it or not, when you don't have remorse. Anyways, I think that helps. It's in the blood a little bit. But the fact that he was a high-level wrestler and a beast, and he didn't come from money. He came from poverty. And he worked. I remember he was giving us stories when he was in college, and he didn't have enough money to even eat food. So he'd go in and eat. And he had one chance to go to eat, and he would eat as much as he possibly could in one sitting because he knew that he didn't have enough to eat. And then, his whole life changed when he got into the WWE, and then everyone said, "Hey, you're such a beast. Have you ever thought about fighting for real?" And then next thing you know, he tried to do MMA. What was his first opponent? It was the big, wasn't it the big Korean guy?
Yeah, the K1 at the Coliseum.
Yeah,
It was a big one. I think it was in LA, right? It was in LA.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he fought, and then
Conan main event
was
with Khabib Nurmagomedov was crazy too. That was a big event, even though it didn't sell a lot of tickets, and Dennis Rodman was there. It was still a big event, and that was Brock Lesnar's first fight in the main event. And he completely killed him. It was an easy fight for Brock, pretty much a layup.
I think the fact that he, because he was a pro wrestler and he transferred over, I think a lot of people would pay to either see him win or lose. He said, bottom line, he said, here's the deal. He goes, win or lose, people are going to pay to watch me fight. He goes, I put the asses in the seats. That's what Ken Shamrock said. Same thing. He goes, I put the asses in the seats. And he goes, and that's why we'll make big bucks.
So what made you get started? What made you get started with mixed martial arts and get into Shooto? What made you get into MMA and get involved with Shooto? Like, what was your influence? Or how'd you get started?
Well, I was training at the Inosanto Academy, and I was also training at the Jet Center, and I was also training at the Gracie's at the time. And there was a Shooto seminar in 1988. There was a Shooto shoot wrestling seminar at the Inosanto Academy, and I looked at the poster, and it looked intriguing because it was striking, throwing, and shooting and submitting. And I was like, wow, that looks interesting. I wonder if that's like karate or if it's actually like real fighting. And when I went to the seminar, it was so technical, and it was Thai boxing, it was wrestling, sambo, judo, and ground submission, which is catch wrestling, and judo and Japanese jiu-jitsu at the time, and sambo. So it was a lot of leg locks, a lot of leg attacks, but a lot of really cool throws, jumping knee bars, flying arm bars. All the throws were very dynamic, great for audiences, great for crowd participation. And then on the ground, it was just attack. Their mentality on the ground was someone said, what is Shooto's mentality? I go, it's jiu-jitsu on steroids. And someone said, what does that mean? I go, it's like you hit the ground and you got 15 seconds. You better submit somebody or you're back up kickboxing. So there was a time limit on the ground, or originally time limit. And there was no face punching. You could only submit people. So they changed the rules because a lot of the fighters from international would come over and they could not compete and keep up with the guys because it was all punch, kick, throw, takedown, and submission. And some guys were good kickboxers, but their submission was horrible. Some guys were great wrestlers, but you only had 15 seconds on the ground. So.
Right. I think we might have lost
Frozen?
Buffering?
Maybe a little bit of buffering? I think we might have. Oh, goddamn. Oh, he's back. Oh, he's awesome. Fuck.
Damn it.
All right.
Well, that's our show.
That was
I think he said, go ahead.
We're just getting into it. I was kind of interested in where that was going, and then I wanted to drop the WCC on him. But
oh shit, yo,
dude, I've known Erik for so long. It's a question that I've always been curious about, and I'm like, if I'm gonna ask a question, I might as well do it on the show. And most people have no idea what WCC is, and then also I'm also curious. He would have fought Renzo in the final if he would have beaten the guy that pulled his hair. I'm curious how he felt he would have done against Renzo. That's a good question.
Renzo was a bad motherfucker back in the day. I think he softened up in his older years because the Renzo I remember used to fucking stomp people and literally fucking lay an ass whooping amongst ass whoopings. Like Renzo has softened up and become a nicer gentleman in his older fucking wiser years because Renzo was a fucking beast.
Well, I mean, that whole side of the family, I trained with Hal for years. They're not nice. Like there's no niceties in that grouping. Like, I mean, they're personable and they can be friendly, but they are very hot blooded, and they will get after it when it comes to fighting.
And God bless his soul. I know you have different opinions, but Ryan Gracie was the perfect example. They called him the Gracie Devil for a goddamn good reason. I'm not going to talk more about him, but just Google Ryan Gracie. Ryan Gracie was the wild one in the bunch. He would pick fights. Oh, who was the guy? Wally. What was his last name? Wally. Yeah, dude. They had fucking wars in Brazil. Like, I don't know why that fight never fucking happened. But Ryan Gracie and Wally.
You know that Valige had beaten Half and Henzo, and I believe Ryan in jiu-jitsu.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, now he didn't submit them, but as a matter of fact, I have a VHS somewhere of his match with Henzo. Valige was really good at passing the guard. So he'd pass the guard, go back in the guard, pass the guard, go back in the guard, and he'd end up winning by a pretty large margin. But he beat all three of the brothers in jiu-jitsu, and then he slept Royce Gracie in Royce's first jiu-jitsu match since he was a pro fighter, and that's what kind of propelled Valige into like the spotlight, and that's where that's when the beef between him and Ryan started to really like become talked about.
Did you? One of my favorite fights with Sakuraba is Sakuraba actually fucking spanking Ryan. And that was like the first guy to really humble and like, hey, calm down, kid. Like, Sakuraba spanking that ass. Like, Sakuraba with the fucking bleach hair, and he won the Saku belt. It was fucking
such a gangster, man. Such a gangster. Like, it really, that time frame, and those that are into MMA, man, watch the old Pride. Watch the old Sakuraba. Like, really, you're going to get a new appreciation for the sport and understand the background. And that was actually a great thing we were talking about to Paulson before he decided to leave us. I mean, like, there you go.
Hey!
There you are. Sorry, guys.
It's all good, brother.
I plugged my phone into my wife's charger, and then I realized it wasn't on.
That happened.
Been there, done that.
So, Paulson, you were talking about the how much you enjoyed Shooto and how that you got involved in it. Keep going from there.
I wish it was still around, because I think it's done. I'm pretty sure it's done in Japan. I just got off the phone. I got off the phone with one of the guys, and they were having some possible corruption issues with some of the commission, and
In Japan?
yeah. Exactly. One of the guys, he was a fighter. He was one of the original fighters from the first generation. His name was Noboru Asahi, and he had a big old pearl for an ear, which was like a prize, the prize gyoza ear. He had the full on, they call him, he goes, look at my pearl. I'm so happy, because a lot of the guys, they sit over there and they go like this. And I go, what are you doing? They go, cauliflower. It's a prize. It's a big prize. So I would catch guys dragging their ears behind their cars from a thread. They hook their ears up to the back of their car and drag them down the road so they get cauliflower on them. And this guy had the biggest pearls, and he goes, "These are pearls. They're like gold." And everyone's like, "You have beautiful ears."
Yeah.
But here's what I wish. I wish everyone would have got to go to Japan to fight in Shooto, because the crowd is different. They're quiet. They listen.
I love. That was, when I first started doing MMA, that was what I aspired to do, was to fight in Shooto. That was all I wanted to do one time. And I distinctly remember going to Japan in 2001 and getting an opportunity to go to a live Shooto event. And it was exactly like you said, that the amount of respect, it is 100% quiet. And then there'd be a transition, and it'd be light clapping, and then it'd be quiet again. And you would hear the corners. And it was exceptional.
One time I was fighting, and in the arena there was about 2,500 people maybe, and all of a sudden it was really quiet, and this guy in the far corner of the arena farted really loud. but it was silent, and this guy yelled. He goes, "Onada!" And everyone laughed. They kind of, they're almost embarrassed to laugh at a fart. But it was I was in the middle of the ring fighting, and I heard someone fart, and then I heard someone yell "Onada," and then everyone's and I started snickering in my fight. I was like snickering on the ground because I was on the ground fighting.
In the moment. So Erik, I have a question for you that I've actually wanted to ask you for probably since I've met you. Okay, and I'm going to pull you back a little bit. WCC.
I'm married. Oh, sorry.
Oh. Damn it! I'm married too.
Oh, with the bird.
He's the big spoon.
I like my men with longer hair. Something to pull on.
So do you know I cut my hair? I still have hair, but you know why I cut it? I had this idea in my mind that you had a spool of hair underneath your skull, and that when it grows and grows, and then if you let it grow out too long, the spool will run out and you'll go bald.
I think it happened to me. Okay, so WCC. Back to the question, Paulson. WCC, you fought God, what is the guy's name? The black kickboxer that grabbed you by the hair and socked you in the face over and over and over again.
James Waring. He was a WBO cruiserweight champion, fastest knockout in history, 23 seconds.
So now I remember watching that, and we had that card had that particular card. There was Renzo Gracie, there was Bart Vale, or is it Bart Vale?
Bart Vale, Mike Batonio, Bart Vale.
Bart Vale at that point, I remember reading about him in the magazines. He was a shoot fighter as well, and you were also coming from the Shooto background. And I was really excited to see how the other grappling arts would handle a Renzo Gracie, but James Waring grabs you by the hair like a woman in a nightclub, and now, in retrospect, obviously, do you feel that how did you feel about, one, that type of technique, and two, would you have cut your hair?
Okay, first of all, I was an actor. Going up for I had a movie part on Sinbad. We were shooting in Morocco in a couple weeks. In a couple weeks, and I got hired as a Viking warrior, and I was to ride a horse, and I had long hair. And the reason I got the part is because I had long hair, and I looked the part, and they go, "Yeah, that's perfect. You got the part." So when I went in there, I went up for the commercial for WCC. I went up for the commercial. Chad and I went as actors and stuntmen to audition for the commercial, and we were up against Timac, Bruce Leroy. You know Timac, right? You guys know who that is? Timac, actor from.
The Last Dragon.
Yeah, Black Dragon with Last. Yeah, Last Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Ron Van Cleef, all these guys. Anyway, okay, so we're up against this guy, auditioning against him, and Chad and I got the part. So we were up for the commercial. We got the commercial. So they watched our demo, and they said, "Man, your demo is really good. You do a lot of different arts. You do Thai boxing, you got judo and sambo in there, and you do submission. This looks really good and very dynamic. Is there a chance that either of you have ever fought before? Would you be interested to fight in this event?" And Chad and I were like, "No, we're just coming up. We just want to do the commercial. We don't really want to fight." And they go, "Oh, have either of you ever fought before?" And we both pointed at each other, and we started laughing. And I go, "He fights." And he goes, "No, he fights." I go, No, he fights. I don't fight. He fights. He's a fighter, not me. I'm an actor. I'm a stuntman." And next thing you know, they go, hey, have you ever fought? Have you ever fought in this type of event? And I go, bare knuckle, no way, people die. And then next thing you know, they asked me if I would actually would consider fighting in the event as an alternative, alternate for the strikers division. I said, grapplers? They go, no, there's strikers and grapplers just come in as a striker. And they go, can you strike? I go, I can do striking or grappling, whatever you want. And they said, yeah, you can strike, but you're not allowed to grapple. So when you hit the ground, you're not allowed to submit your guy, but you have to, if you want to ground and pound and punch him out, you can do that. So I got the part. And I had to ask Rickson Gracie and his wife if it was possible to get a clearance from them to fight in this event. And I said, if I was to get to the final and fight Renzo, I would gladly take a bye just so I could continue to train with him. And he said, no problem. That's great. And Kim said the same thing. That's fine. Thank you for asking. Very respectful. Next thing you know, I'm fighting in the event, which I didn't even know I would. And I fought Sean McCulley and I fought James Waring back to back. And the thing that was surprising was the fact that I got through the first guy, and then I got to the second guy, so I was in the semifinal. And the fact that I had long hair and I had it braided, I tried to have it cornrowed, but I couldn't get it cornrowed. I had a girl try to cornrow it. I'm in the South. I was surprised that she couldn't cornrow my hair. And she tried and tried, and I went to another girl, and I was so mad. I go, fuck it, just put it in a bun. Twist it up and put it in a bun on the top of my head. And then after my first fight, Sean McCulley got his fingers in my hair and was pulling my head back and elbowing my eyebrows, and I got 2 cuts. So after my first fight, I went backstage and I got stitches on both sides. And I was like, damn, it was hard to block because I've never had my head straight back and had to defend against elbows. It was always like my head was down. So I got stitches. And they go, okay, your next fight. I go, I'm fighting Jerome Turcan, the Savat guy, right? And they go, and Chad goes, no, you're fighting James Waring, the boxer. And I go, well, why would I fight that guy? And he goes, he has casts on his hands. And I go, what? And he goes, yeah, he barely hit James Waring with a hammer fist and he went down. And then I looked, and we were only allowed a piece of tape around our knuckles. And James Waring had his hands fully taped like a boxer. And he had it signed off. He was friends with the commissioners. So they signed his hands that were casts off. And Chad goes, don't worry. He's not going to touch you. Just don't let him hit you. Just don't let him hit you. So it was a full-on hair-pulling contest against the cage. I kneed him in the nuts and stomped his feet, and he kneed me in the nuts. And when he kneed me in the nuts, he hit me once, and I go, that doesn't even hurt. But I heard my cup split and break in half. I heard it go schwack. And so after the fight, I was like, wow, that was a tough fight. And I'm in the back room, and my stitches that were in my eyebrows swelled up so much, my stitches disappeared. It's a miracle. My wounds have healed.
Right. If anyone learned how to have brass balls, please talk to Erik Paulson, please. Obviously, that's the reason why I never heard. So.
I go to Australia 2 weeks after the fight. And this guy goes, you look really familiar. He goes, I know you. You're that long-haired dummy that didn't cut his hair and got his ass beat. I go, I wasn't planning on fighting. I planned on having that movie part because the movie part was going to pay pretty good, and to win that fight, it would have paid pretty good too because to beat James Waring would be $32,000. To fight and beat Renzo at about $132,000. I got James Waring so tired in that round, in that 18 or 20, I forget, maybe it was 24 minutes. I got him so tired that Renzo shot a low single from one side of the cage. He shot and crawled and still hit a low single, and James Waring fell over. He jumped on me, he tapped out. And I was like, shit. Like, I just did all that work, and then Henzo even came up. He goes, "Thanks for getting that guy tired." and then I go back to Hickson's. Like 2 or 3 weeks later, because I got a black ear because I got elbowed up in the temple. So now I have a black ear, and I had a black bruise ring around my groin from getting kneed 30 times in my cup. And after the fight, I was in the back room and I pulled my cup out and I go, "Hey, look," and it was dented and cracked in half. And it was funny. Oh, it was a Japanese cup, so those cheap plastic cups. So somebody goes, "Hey, why would you wear a plastic cup?" And I go, "Well, I didn't really plan on getting kneed in the nuts. I actually wasn't even planning on fighting." And then everyone's like, "Why didn't you cut your hair?" And I go, "Because I had a movie part a week later." And then my movie part got canceled. And guess who got the part? Joe Greco from 21 Jump Street.
Oh shit!
Is that his name?
That's some bullshit. That's some bullshit.
Yeah, so I didn't even get the movie. But I did get a Baywatch part as a hockey player, a long-haired, black-haired hockey player. I had to spray paint my hair black, and because I could rollerblade, I got a part on Baywatch. Checking, I was a goon on rollerblade. I don't think goons on rollerblades even exist.
Sounds legit.
That was legit, man.
In the early 90s, they absolutely existed. And
It makes perfect sense too, because they're acting along Pamela Anderson, who was one of the baddest man pajamas, like bad lady, and of course it makes sense, correlates,
Hey, can you cross-check this guy off of his feet? And I go, "Oh, sure." So I cross-checked him. Cross-check is a stick across your chest, right? That's a cross-check. So I cross-checked this guy, and they go, "Can you get him higher?" And I go, "Really?" And they go, "Yeah." So I got him higher, and they go, "Can you get him higher?" And I go, "Really?" And they go, "Yeah." I go, "Okay." So I got under him, and I lifted him straight up, and I slammed him on his back, and they go, "Cut! That's a wrap. You're done." And that was it. I just had to steal the puck. and then cross-check this hockey player and lift him up, slam him, and that was an $8,000 roll. Opposed to the $130,000 roll that I could have had from the Sinbad movie, because it was Sinbad shot in Morocco, and then or fighting Henzo for the $130,000 pot. But I kept my hair long. As Boom Boom Mancini said, I chose vanity over practicality. Bubba.
You're damn right.
Stupid.
So Erik, who do you have right now? First off, you got CSW and Fullerton,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
And who are your up and coming guys? Who are the ones that we should be looking out for?
Well, so Ben Jones is now running our practice full time. He's our head coach. I relinquished my position as the head coach, and now I only teach the night classes. I'm only teaching jiu-jitsu, catch wrestling, and shoot boxing, and I do and boxing also. But as far as Ben has Coach Ben has Jake Rosales is chomping at the bit to get in the UFC. He just fought in LFA. We have two guys fighting this weekend. Nick and Richie are fighting this weekend. One in Nebraska, one in Tijuana. Do you wanna? I'm afraid to go to Tijuana. Last time I went down there, I pulled over the railroad tracks and I got arrested by the federales, and I had to pay him some money.
How the fuck does that happen?
Because it happens all the time.
Oh,
They just go, "You're going to jail unless you pay me $100." And I go,
Okay.
how does $40 sound? Let's go with 80. It's like, okay, meet me in the hardware store across the street and I'll pay you $80 in the aisle. Make sure you don't hand it out. Make sure you hand it low.
well played. Well played.
You watch
I remember being in TJ for some fights, and we were with this British guy, and the cops were like, "Hey, give us, you need to give us the drugs that you just bought." He's like, "I didn't buy drugs." And the cop opens his hand. He goes, "Yeah, you did." And he had drugs in his hand. And the guy, he's looking at us, and we're looking at him like, "You got to fucking pay him. Just give him some money."
He should have got the drugs and took off.
Should have, right? But he, gave him, I think, like 60, 70 bucks, and that cleared him from his drug charge, and he just went on with the night.
Isn't that stupid? That happens all the time. Yeah. It is so corrupt down there. They said if you're not trying to cheat someone out of something, you're not trying to get ahead in life. That's their motto. Yeah. In Rosa Ensenada area.
So I got like a really nerdy question for you. So, you back in the 90s, you were one of the baddest mofos on the planet, and I always wonder this because you mentioned before that the reason why you didn't enter in the UFC 1 is because Royce Gracie obviously was in the tournament. UFC 1 was going to be the infomercial for Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. That's just how it played out. There was no other Jiu-Jitsu black belts in there, no collegiate wrestlers, just one shoot wrestler named Ken Shamrock. Your loyalty to the Gracies obviously kept you far away. My question is, because the antidote to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu obviously was Sakuraba, especially in Pride. Sakuraba beat Royce Gracie, catch wrestling. Sakuraba beat Royce Gracie, Hoyer Gracie, Henzo Gracie, Hyan Gracie. With your loyalty intact, was that what kept you away completely from the UFC? Because you would have fared quite well. You had the Frank Shamrocks in the world. You had all these guys. Tito Ortiz was being injected in there. You had Kevin Randleman starting out in the late 90s. Like, do you feel like, was that the reason why you stayed away from the UFC? Was because your loyalty to the Gracie family, or what kept you away?
Yeah. Also, I didn't. So I was loyal to Japan, the Shooto, and Shooto was telling me that I wasn't allowed to fight in any other leagues.
Oh.
And one year I just said, hey, you guys aren't giving me any fights. I go, I'm trying to tell people that I'm a pro fighter, but I'm more of a pro bartender than I am a pro fighter. And I said, I teach private lessons and I bartend. And I said, I want to fight. I want to fight 4 times a year if I can, or 5 times a year. They go, you do? And I go, yeah. And I said, you guys are giving me 2 fights a year. You can't tell people that you're a pro fighter when you're fighting twice a year. You're not a pro. You're a semi-pro. So all of a sudden I said, I started getting some phone calls. I got more phone calls for fights in America than I was getting over in Japan. And they were trying to, give me fights here and there, and that before they tried to send me back to America to fight. And all of a sudden I got a bunch of fights that were coming out were the one that Henzo fought Oleg Tatarov in. Remember when he up-kicked him and knocked him out? Yeah. I was supposed to fight in that. I had a bunch of fight cards that were local, that were not the UFC, but that were here in America and in the Philippines and in China, Macau, that I was supposed to fight in, and they all fell through. I was going to fight in Cage Rage, and they go, hey, we want you to fight Cage Rage. I go, gladly. And I go, who do you want me to fight? And they go, Babalu. And I go, I train him. Like, come on. There's got to be someone else at a 205, 225 spot that I could easily fight. And it was just luck of the draw. It was like somebody didn't want me to fight. So I tried to go to the UFC. They asked me to fight on a one week notice. They asked me because I just got back off of a tour in England for a month, and they said, hey, we want you to fight either Matt Linlin or Phil Baroni.
Oh. And
I go, when? They go, next week. And I go, I just got back. I've been gone for a month. I've been on the road. That's a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I said, so you're gonna give me my pro debut in the UFC with a week's training notice? I go, and they said, well, can you make weight? And I said, you know what? It's all about the money for the manager. It's not even about me, because I wasn't in fight shape. I know what fight shape is. You can't go do a tour and teach seminars all over and then think that you're in fight shape. Right. And go fight. But some people, they do that. Travis Fulton, he just fights, fight. And same with Dan Severn.
Do you hear his newest fight there, Paulson?
Whose?
Paulson.
No.
He's a pedophile that just got busted for kiddie porn.
Fuck that guy.
Are you serious?
100%. 100%.
What the hell? How did that?
Well, it started off as apparently it was a domestic violence issue, and then they got his laptop and they found all this kiddie porn, including him trying to solicit someone under the age of 12 to take naked pictures for him. Fuck that guy. Piece of shit.
That guy. Piece of fucking shit.
I wonder, like, okay, so you got a guy that's had 200 and some fights. I wonder if he has what's that thing?
CTE.
Yeah. I'm wondering.
I have no doubts that his attorneys are probably going to play that into account to his defense. But I think that I don't think CTE makes pedophiles. I think
I don't think you get punched in the head and suddenly you crave little kids.
Yeah, no, and so F that guy, man. That guy is a piece of garbage. I'm
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You brought him up. It's recent MMA news. So and you brought up the name, so it's a good segue there to say F you to that piece of shit.
That's really creepy.
Yeah,
that's creepy.
Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. So let's go back to MMA right now, Paulson. Who are the guys that you look at as? I mean, first off, you are probably one of the most knowledgeable guys that I've met in MMA. One of the best coaches. Whenever I go to the room, you teach so much stuff from the ground, standing, wrestling, everything, and you meld it together great. Who do you see as the prototypical MMA guy right now? Who do you see that you're like, this guy's got it?
Well, it was John Jones, before he ever got big. I said, that guy's going to be world champion. I said, I would like to get my hooks in that guy. And it was funny because right when I said it, he was training with one of my guys in New York.
Team Bomb Squad.
Eric Charles and Kevin Seaman. He was with Eric Charles. And then all of a sudden, Kevin Jack, is that right? Kevin Jackson?
No, Greg Jackson.
Oh, sorry. What am I thinking? Yeah, Greg Jackson. Sorry. Greg Jackson was saying, boy, I would like to train that guy. And then all of a sudden he went, and then they replaced Rashad with John Jones. And then he started training John Jones. You know, stuff like that. That's one of the reasons I got out of the fight game, because the loyalty issue and the disrespect is very, very high. You know, and you got a guy that loves you to death one minute, and next thing you know, he's leaving your gym to go somewhere else. And, you know, it's like, I think if you teach martial arts to normal people, they will love you forever because you change their lives. Fighters are different. You know, they're how are you a champion one day and you lose a fight and you're suddenly just a loser? You get everyone calling you after you win your belt, and everyone's like, man, you're a champ. It's wonderful. Then you lose and 4 people call, and 3 of those calls are your mom.
Yeah, it's true. I will say that MMA is definitely what have you done for me lately? You know, you're only good until you lose. And then when you lose, you sucked in the first place. And everything else was a fluke. You know, oh, he just won. He won by luck. And then you lose. And see, I told you he sucked.
I'll tell you, though, it is one of the most exciting sports out there. I mean, things happen. It wasn't until after I retired I actually went to watch a fight in Japan, and I got a ringside seat, and Dave Monet was fighting in Shooto and Dennis Hall. I sat and watched the fights, and I go, holy crap, this is exciting. And this guy just turns around and looks at me. He goes, what? I've never watched fights before. I just fought. I never would watch fights. I would just get in there and fight. I never just sat on the side and watch them. I would never review. I never watch people fight. I never watched UFC. I just used to just fight. It was weird. You know, this guy couldn't believe it. He was sitting next to me, scratching his head. Can't believe it. But it is exciting because at any given second, anything can happen. You take a guy that's getting his ass whooped, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he throws a high kick or he gets a choke, and it's the end of the fight.
Yeah, the different variables, I think, that's what makes MMA the entity that it is. There's so many different ways. There's so many variables that and there are so many different ways to finish the course of the match.
I agree. And a lot of people don't know this, but Shooto was actually a technical martial arts training system. A lot of guys think that Shooto in Japan, they're like, yeah, Shooto was a fight league, but it wasn't really a sport. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Then why do we have to do 30 minutes of footwork, a deck of cards for push-ups, jackknives, and Hindu squats and slider squats? Why do we have to do all the footwork drills, all the tie pad drills, focus mitt drills? Why do we have to do all the throws, punching to takedown, counters to shots, and all the ground submission? We have 10 combinations. In Shooto, there's 10 submission combinations from catch wrestling. It's approximately 150 submissions you have to learn. So that is a technical martial art.
And there were Shooto gyms for a while. I don't remember the last time I had heard of the Shooto gyms, but I remember that, especially in your time frame, that there were expressly gyms that taught Shooto.
Yeah, more so in Japan than America. There weren't very many. In America, it was, really, the Inosanto Academy was the premier place because we had the founder of USA Shooto. And we started so early, it was before Gracie Jiu-Jitsu had even exploded. And I think if Yuri would have really promoted it a lot more, and because he's really involved in the whole Bruce Lee thing, and he was the president of the Bruce Lee Society in Japan, and I think if he would have really promoted the Shooto, because we had so many amateur fights and so many complete fighters back in the late 80s, early 90s. There was a lot of matches where we had to wear bubble helmets, tights, shin guards, and little gloves, and there was a ton of suplexes, kick catches, dragon screw. You guys know what a dragon screw is?
I do.
Dragon screw is you catch a round kick that's thrown to your body, and then you suplex a guy with his leg. A dragon screw. There was dragon screw throws. There was even people were trying drop seonagis or seonagis with the leg. They would they would catch overhook and catch the leg, and then try to do like a single arm throw, but a single leg throw with it. There was a ton of really cool stuff, and it was an exciting sport. If a guy got a clinch, the guy would hit a flying guard attempt right into an arm bar, or a jumping knee bar from the clinch, flying knee bars, flying arm bars, flying triangles, flying omoplatas. Those are all part of the training. And it's funny because it disappeared for a long time, and then all of a sudden Gary Tonin, of all people, Gary Tonin came out in the grappling world just recently and started hitting that on everybody. And everyone's like, did you see this new stuff? And I go, that's old Shooto. And it disappeared. And all of a sudden he's hitting the flying heel hooks. He hit the flying heel hook, the dive roll knee bar, the kanibasami throw, which is a flying scissor throw, crab throw, flying arm bars, flying triangles. That's all part of the Shooto repertoire, because it was a dynamic submission system that was geared for the crowd. People loved to watch it because it was so dynamic, and the submissions were so, and it wasn't pro wrestling. It came from a pro wrestling background. Karl Gotch told Satoru Sayama, Karl Gotch, the catch wrestler, the god of catch wrestling, said, god of submission, said to Sayami that it will never be famous. Whatever you're doing will never be popular unless it's pro wrestling. And he said, I'm gonna make real fighting like pro wrestling, but it's going to be real. And there's going to be a tap out. You can win by knockout, you could win by tap out, or you could win by decision.
There was another Japanese Nobuhiko Takada before he went to Pride. It was a UWF.
So, hold on. Can I say something real quick? So here's the reason why I was not allowed to fight in other leagues, because at the time, some of the other leagues had predetermined matches, or grapplers would carry other grapplers, or they would have rope escapes. And so I have a list of all the Japanese leagues like UWF, Rings. There was Pancrase. There was a bunch of others, and even Pride in the beginning stages. They had some of the matches were a little bit predetermined. I was watching a match in Pride one time, and a guy had a full-on armbar, and it was fully extended. And I was like, "How come that guy's not tapping?" And he was just laying there holding it. And then the guy miraculously got out. It wasn't a hitchhiker escape as it was going. It was like all the way on. And I was like, you know what? I think that's fake. I'm pretty sure that's fake.
Was that Takada versus Otsuka? Alexander Otsuka versus Nobuhiko Takada? I vividly remember because he hit us fucking suplex. So, like, those are two Japanese pro wrestlers. I
could have, because those guys came from the show wrestling and the catch wrestling. Most of the show wrestlers in Japan are catch wrestlers. Most of them learned all the submissions from catch wrestling. They're of Gotch and Antonio Inoki and Fujiwara lineage. But Carl Gotch and then Billy Robinson and then but those guys had tons and tons of submission stuff. And actually, I called Gene LaBelle the other day because Uncle Gene, somebody said, "Hey, Uncle Gene, do you hear he passed away?" I go, "No, he didn't." And he goes, "I think he did." I go, "No way." And I called him, and he immediately answered the phone. I was so relieved. We were talking, and I couldn't believe it when he told me, because my heart sunk, and I was like, "There's no way that Uncle Gene's still or passed away." And he answered the phone right away, and he said he's been in his house for 4 to 6 months. He hasn't left his house because of the COVID thing.
Yeah, and Judo Gene LeBeau is the guy that made Steven Skull shit his pants, right?
So I asked Gene LaBelle, I said, "What do you think of Billy Robinson and Carl Gotch?" And he said, "Billy Robinson was great. We wrestled." He said, "But Carl Gotch was my teacher." And he said, "My most valued certificate I have on my wall today," he said, "I have a 9th, I don't know if he said 9th or 10th degree black belt or red belt in judo." He said, "That's valuable." He goes, "But the sadistic bastard certificate that he got from Carl Gotch for catch wrestling was the most valued certificate he ever got. It was his most valued. He got an award from him called the Sadistic Bastard Award." And he used to watch him. He said, "You're too nice to people." He goes, "When you roll with people, they should never want to roll with you again." I was like, well, that wouldn't go well. You get kicked out of every school you go to.
Yeah, right. That's
but that was the mentality. That was the catch wrestling mentality when catch wrestling was merging into the pro wrestling world. It was a catch wrestling. All the old guys were catch wrestlers. And I went out to have some ramen and some beer with Billy Robinson in Japan after I went and trained with him at Snake Pit, Japan. And I asked him specifically, I said, "How come there aren't that many catch wrestlers anymore?" And he said, "I have to tell you, in the old days, a lot of people didn't have very much money, and people used to get pink eye. And if you got pink eye, you would go blind. If you got a toothache, your tooth would rot. You'd start to have brain issues because it would infect your brain. A rotten tooth affects your brain." And he said, in Patago, there was no cure. Sometimes there would be, and their whole face would start to rot or whatever. And he said, so a lot of the old guys, because of tough times, would commit suicide. So suicide was a major cause why a lot of old catch wrestlers are no longer around.
Jesus.
Isn't that sad?
Fucking horrible, yeah. And what a loss.
He told me that the Snake Pit was next to a train track, and it was open 24 hours a day, and people would just get off a train and walk in, and there was always somebody on the mats. He said there was always somebody there. And it's funny because our idea of a gym today is a big old gym, but they had It was small, and their mats were dirty white canvas, which weren't white. They were brown, and they were filled with horsehair. Horsehair. That was like, even a lot of the old gymnastics, because I was a gymnast, all the old gymnastics mats had horsehair. Even boxing gloves and bag gloves had horsehair in them. Isn't that crazy?
What a time frame.
Yeah, like we're spoiled, man. We're so spoiled today. We have no idea. And here's the other thing. How about the access of information today? So you got JJ Fanatics. Everyone's doing some great stuff on there, and it's a wealth and huge trove of knowledge. But here's another thing. Like Gene LaBelle said, I drove all the way across the United States, 2,000 miles, to learn one throw from a guy. There was a guy in a tournament that used to throw everybody, and he was so good at this one throw. I drove all the way across the country just to learn the one throw. And then I got my car after I learned it, and I drove back. And so it takes a guy probably 6 days or a week to go learn one throw from a guy. And so dumbass me, what do I say? What was would you mind telling me what the throw was? So he's like, yeah, sure. It was an Uchimata. The reason the guy was so successful is he would put his head on the floor when he would throw you. So a lot of times you hit a whizzer and then you turn and you back kick, but so a lot of people would touch the floor with their hand, but this guy would touch his head to the floor and nobody could prevent his Uchimata from a body lock. Isn't that crazy?
So it was like a trip, correct? From like when somebody got the whizzer, like it was essentially a trip. Right?
Yeah. If I body lock you and I'm running you into the cage and you whizzer and you turn and you hit an Uchimata or a back kick, and the thing is this guy that was throwing everybody would touch his head to the floor. So he was practicing his splits, but nobody could stop him from throwing him. Gene LaBelle drove 4,000 miles to learn one move that I accessed by just asking him one question like a dumbass.
Well, but now that information is available on 20,000 different formats.
Maybe, but again, there's a lot of knowledge that people. It's so weird. COVID has made everyone an expert. I got guys that haven't trained with me very long. They've got videos on YouTube on how to do the armbar now, and I'm like, hey, haven't you only been training for 3 weeks? Oh yeah, but I'm showing everyone how to do an armbar. And I was like, oh okay, oh congratulations, that's wonderful. Thank you for enlightening the world. With 3 weeks of knowledge. What's that?
So we're running a little bit over schedule. So Gabe, final questions.
No questions. I just want to thank you for your time, Mr. Paulson. Always a pleasure. It's been far too long, my friend.
You know what? I think one of the biggest things that we have to do is laugh a little more, because so many people are so serious. We have to just laugh at stuff, enjoy yourself, because sometimes life gets really tough. And I think the more serious we are with stuff, it's good to be serious, but not always. I think you need to get together with your friends and laugh.
Can you put the glasses back on?
Yeah, well, of course. That's why do you think I was trying to get you to laugh in the beginning?
Thank you.
That's why I had him on.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Erik, you're a legend of the game. You've trained the who's who, the badasses. Obviously, you train the badasses of the sport because you are a badass. You are the original badass. Thank you so much for coming, man.
Let me say something real quick. The only reason I'm a coach is because people don't want to watch a guy over 50 fight anymore. No, because I wanted to fight. I wanted to fight and keep fighting, but people don't want to see old guys fight. And it was so funny. My last fight fought on HDNet. I was 42, and I fought. This guy clapped, and I go, thank you. And then all of a sudden, this guy goes, kill him, Grandpa. And I go, and now I am retired, and I'll never fight again. Because you just call me Grandpa. Thank you very much.
That's all you need.
You're the fucking man.
Well, here's the thing. I'm only a coach because I have to be, not because I want to be. If I could fight, I would still fight. But
and you'll probably fuck up 90% of the country. So just saying.
People do not want to see old guys fight. I wanted to put a fight league for old guys together. And someone goes, this young kid goes, nobody wants to watch that. And I was like, well, you don't even know who Bruce Lee is. He's like, who?
I rest my case.
Yeah, but I thought, hey, let's get Oleg Tatarov, Marco Huas, we'll get Ken Shamrock, we'll get all the old guys and make them fight again.
I'd watch it.
Yeah, but you know what? This guy goes, that's a huge health risk, and I was like, really? I don't think so. I think it'd be exciting.
Me too.
Yeah,
absolutely, man, Eric.
So where can we find you, Eric? Where can we find Erik Paulson? Where can people spend some time looking for you, old man?
Erik, thank you. Erik Paulson with a K, Erik Paulson, ericpaulson.com, and also on Instagram, just Erik Paulson. I got a lot of posts. I try to post funny things and a lot of martial arts stuff. I've been told and taught to stay away from politics and personal opinion stuff. So all I do is post mostly things that are funny and martial arts stuff.
Good stuff.
An honor to talk to you, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yes, sir.
See you soon, Paulson. Thank you.
Hit him with the glasses, baby. So he brought up Oleg Turov, and my girlfriend's dad actually hung out with him, which is crazy enough. I'm like, I think I'm in love with your father. She's super Russian, you know, Oleg, super.
I get it. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about it. It's kind of weird. It's a weird. Her father knows Oleg, and that makes you kind of. I don't even want to think about like the like. Did you ask her to speak to you in Russian? Like
fucking legends of the game. Legends of the game.
Yeah, I will crush you in Russian in the bedroom. Or do you have her father call Oleg on the phone right before? You know what?
I'll fucking kill you, comrade.
I'll kill you. If he does, he does. I must break you. All right, boys and girls. So we're gonna wrap this up like a Christmas present. So Gabe, final words. We're running a little bit over time, but final words.
We are over time, and I'm thankful to be here again. It's great talking to Erik. It's been quite some time. I like the glasses. It's a good look. You can tell that I would have a difficult time if Erik was getting in that old man's league. They would have to. Does he get to wear contacts? Does he get to wear glasses, or does he just go in blind? I don't know.
Those are probably just for reading.
Probably.
I don't know. It's pretty thick.
That's what she said. Oh, so
wow.
Final words, Matt, producer. Hit him.
Buy some Dringer.
Buy it.
That's
pre-workout.
Good stuff. Highly recommend it. Cool. All right.
All right. Sounds good. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Fight Mixer, we'll see you next week. Wednesday show, Thursday show. We have a bunch of great guests. Joe Elmore is going to be on the show with his opponent for BKFC in March. I can't wait to fucking talk to him. He's one of my favorite guests. He's going to come back on the show. And, of course, Wednesday's show is going to be awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all my bros, hoes, and different area codes, signing off from the Fight Mixer. Peace.
Perfect.